This is the plaintiff, Rachel Bansomer. She says the defendant, her former roommate, asked her to have sex with him. She declined, and that's when all the trouble started. The guy moved 15 people into the apartment, including his mentally ill mother, and things got so bad she moved out. The defendant gave her a check for her security, but it bounced. That's why she's suing him here and now for every penny of the $750 she's owed. This is the defendant, John. He says the plaintiff lives a very promiscuous lifestyle. She's eccentric and very sexual. The girl had different men in the apartment every night, and people started to think he was her pimp, for God's sake. Bottom line, the plaintiff stole his iPad when things got bad between them. He filed a report with the cops and owes that girl nothing. He's accused of getting turned down and withholding money.
All parties, please raise your right hands. Be seated. Come to order, please. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome,
Okay, Ms. Bansomer, you are suing Jean?
Yes.
You've asked to be referred to only by your first name for $750, your former landlord, for a security deposit that you believe he is wrongfully withholding from you.
Yes.
Tell me what's going on.
In 2012, I decided to move to New York City, so I was looking on Craigslist for
Where'd
an
you come
apartment.
from?
Florida,
Where in Florida?
Clearwater, and Miami.
Okay, go ahead. Why would you do this?
Uh,
Why would you move to Go ahead.
Classically trained dancer, trying to pursue her career as a dancer.
Okay.
I found on Craigslist John's apartment bedroom for rent. Upon moving in about a month or so, I gave him $750 for my deposit and $750 for the first month's rent.
You lived there for several years without incident?
I lived there for 2.5 with multiple incidences, just allowed them to be because it was a big sized bedroom for $750.
Okay, so you were renting the bedroom?
Yes.
Okay, and who else was living there besides you and him?
There were multiple roommates throughout the 2.5 years that I lived there.
Right, but at a time, how many people were living there?
There was 2 other people, not including me and John, so 4.
Okay, did you have a lease?
No, it was a
Yes
written...
or no, did you have
yes.
a written lease?
Yeah, it was a sort of an agreement.
It was an agreement that what?
That we both sort of like agree that if you live here, you live by these rules, and then within 30 days...
Okay, what about how long she got to live there in that piece of paper?
She could leave whenever she would like.
Okay, and you could toss her out with how much notice?
Well, within 30 days.
Okay, all right, so go ahead.
So upon living there, a few of the incidences that happened was an older drunk guy who was only going to live there for 2 weeks in our living room, ended up extending his stay for a few months.
And he eventually what?
I eventually got a hold of the actual owner of the building to help me get him out of the apartment.
Okay.
There was one incident that there was only supposed to be 4 girls living in our living room for a dance exchange. It was only supposed to be 4 of them for a week. There ended up being a total of 15 of us living in the apartment.
I'm sorry, where was everybody staying? Like cats? Like where was everybody staying?
There was, all of us were individually in our roommates, the 4 of us.
They were dancers?
They were dancers.
I don't understand. Who let them in?
John did. I only agreed to 4 of them living in the living room for the week for their dance event, and there was some type of incident that happened, and all of a sudden there's 11 to 12 of them.
Who were these people?
So basically, my friend has a dance company in Sweden, and she had set up for them to come to New York to study dance, and everything failed, so she had nowhere else to put her friends. So she asked me for help, so, I didn't want to put them in the street.
Okay, for how long?
It was for about a week until
They couldn't
the
get a
show.
hotel? That is another option.
I know, well...
Okay.
I tried my best. They tried their best, but because they were under the school.
Good, because you have a room. You can do whatever you want. If you want to have 400, well, no, actually you can't. But she does have a right to have like some peace there.
But the school was like for kids who are like in the inner city.
I don't care if it's a school for children who have saved people's lives. It doesn't matter how wonderful the children are. It matters that she's entitled to the peaceful enjoyment of the place she's renting. In any event, what else happened that made your skin crawl?
The other one was his mentally ill mother was living with us.
Okay. How was she mentally ill?
All I know is that she just was unstable. All she did would babble. She lived in the living room for quite some time.
What's quite some time?
I want to say it was multiple times she came in and out. Once she went back into the hospital and then she came back.
All right. So what was the final straw that made you want to move out?
The final straw was she was coming back.
The mom.
The mother was coming back. And John had asked me to have sex with him. And I told him
Wait a
no.
minute. Back it up. I'm sorry. I did go too fast. He had asked you to have sex with him?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you tell me about that?
He had asked me to have sex with him, and I told him no. From there, things started to slightly escalate. I didn't realize anybody was home and was wearing clothing, just not a lot of clothing. And I was in the kitchen.
Meaning what?
I was wearing a pair of underwear and a bra.
But you have roommates. Why would you do that?
Most of the time, they're not home.
Well, apparently you were wrong. He was home.
Yes, apparently I was wrong.
Okay, what time of the day or night was this?
It was in the afternoon.
Oh, maybe you should be prancing around. Okay, so what happened?
He just came up to me, asked me to have sex,
Okay.
Followed me close towards my bedroom, and I told him no and shut the door. From there, I just felt really unsafe. And
I know you feel safer if you had some clothes on.
oh yeah, for
Right?
sure.
Okay. But did he say or do anything else other than what you just said
No.
to make you feel unsafe?
That was it, except for the
Yeah, it gets
construction
awkward
that
when you're
happened.
prancing around in your underwear and your bra, and
Yeah,
then
totally get that.
Right, but so that's it. You weirded out, and you felt strange, and you didn't want to be there.
Absolutely.
No problem. Then what happens? You move out. You're giving him notice. You move
gave
out.
him
He hands
notice.
you a check, and the
Yes.
check is for $750.
$750.
So then what happens? He hands you the check, and then when you go to deposit it, you find out he's put a stop payment.
It was canceled.
Meaning he put a stop payment?
Yes.
Okay. So do you call him and say there must be some mistake?
No, he had contacted me at 5 a.m. on November 9th, saying that there was damages that were not true.
Okay, let's talk
And
about
a
the damage.
stolen-
Why is it you're keeping her security deposit?
I didn't keep it. I gave her a $750 check, and then that was
Yeah,
it.
but she says you stopped payment on it.
I didn't stop anything.
Okay, can you show me the stop payment on the check?
Absolutely.
Was it a stop payment or did it bounce?
It's a stopped payment.
What the heck?
Because I went to his bank to cash it, because it was closer, because I have
Okay,
a
do you
Wells
have
Fargo
evidence that he
account.
stopped payment on it? That's what I just asked you for.
It's stamped on the back that I went to go and cash it, and it was denied.
Endorsement canceled.
I didn't stop the check. I
Oh,
wrote
good.
her-
So then you agree that you owe her $750.
Nope, that's not what happened. I wrote her a check.
Right.
And then after that, the following day, that same night, she calls me and she said, "Oh, I lost the check." So then after that, I was like, okay, well, I don't know what else to do. Just give me some time. And then the following day, she returned back into my house and stole my stuff. So that's
Wait, what'd she steal?
she stole my iPad. So I went to the police and told the police what was really happening in the house.
What was really happening in that?
Yes. So basically, I'll tell my side. I've had her for quite some time, and when she came in, she was very promiscuous, and I didn't have a problem with her lifestyle. You know what I mean?
What do you mean by promiscuous?
She would have lots of men in the house.
What do you define as lots of men?
Every time I come in, there's a new guy in my house, and obviously she was sleeping with them or whatever. But that wasn't the issue, you know. I mean, you are what you are. I'm not gonna judge you. But some of the roommates, we were sort of like, kind of surprised. Like every time we come in, there's a new guy in the house. So
It sounds like you're judging her, but go ahead. But you have a right to. I mean, that's where you're living. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, I brought her to her attention, and then
What'd you say?
I was like, there were rumors in the neighborhood that I was like a pimp or something. I actually had a child come to me and ask me if I was a pimp. So I told her, listen, you know what? My mom's coming in the house. I know, you're such a free spirit person. Just kind of like curve things around until I sort of figure out what my mom.
Meaning?
Well, not bring a lot of guys into
Did
the
you
house.
say that?
Yeah, basically. Like,
what'd she say?
And she's like, oh yeah, everything's gonna be fine. I know, I will take care. So we had this sort of good understanding. So anyway, things didn't go the way I thought it would. She continued to bring men in the house. house. Her and my mother wasn't getting along, and I was like, listen, try your best until I figure things out. While I was at work, I get a phone call, and it's the police. So my mom said the police is in the house. So I ran to the house. I get there, Rachel's sitting at the porch crying, oh, don't kick me out. If you want to kick me out, I'll understand. I was like, Rachel,
What had happened?
I don't know. I had to run inside and I
Well, you do know. You're just not telling me. What happened? Get to the point.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. So, if somebody says, oh, well, how'd you like to have sex, and you're living in that person's place and they have the lease, does that give you the right automatically to move out? What do you think?
Yes,
Why?
because I don't want to do that.
Well, you don't have to necessarily do it, but is it, all they did was ask. They didn't force you to do anything.
I would say no. You don't.
Okay,
have to
you can
do
say
it.
no.
You can say no, but I don't need to move out. But I don't want any either.
Okay, I got you. I got you. What do you say?
It definitely depends on the manner in which it was asked.
Well, just ask, do you wanna?
Yeah, I think that's definitely grounds to leave the lease for sure.
Grounds to leave. Wow, getting turned down hard. Going inside the courtroom.
What the police told me is that apparently she, on her way home one night, she took a random stranger brought her home to the house. And when she woke up the next day, the stranger, whoever she brought, stole her stuff. And she had to call the police. So
Okay, what had happened that the police were called?
I had a friend come stay with me for a night that didn't have a place to stay. And he slept on my bed. I slept on my floor of my bedroom. And the next morning, he stole my iPad. He's now in jail for that.
Your iPad.
No, I'm sorry, my MacBook Air 11-inch.
It's interesting that you made that slip because your accusation is that she stole your iPad.
yes, she did.
Tell me about the time when she's in her underwear and something happens.
She's always in her underwear. She always walks around basically nude. So that night she just
No,
decided.
I'm asking you about did you come on to your tenant?
No, I did not come onto my tenant.
No?
Nope, I did not come onto
Oh,
her.
show me
Your
the
Honor,
text.
I have, text messages from him apologizing for that. I also have the messages too on November 8th. He said that it was the day after that I came back. According to his messages, it would have been actually that night that I would have come back.
Here's you. Fine. I was out of line the other day. I saw you naked. I was horny. I asked you to have a sex. I'm a man. I apologized. She answers, you have to respect me, so stay away from me for now. If you are wondering why I'm leaving, this just topped everything off.
Let me explain.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
Like I said, she was a very promiscuous girl.
Yeah,
and she
apparently she'll have anybody but
Yeah.
you.
She was,
According to you.
We had several conversations about this, and
I thought you said you didn't come on to her. I just read a text where you clearly, this is important to me because I have to judge your credibility on stuff,
Of
you
course.
know?
So-
let me ask you a question. Go ahead, yeah, I do want to
So
hear.
basically, the only reason that came up is that she did come onto me, and I felt
Oh,
like
she came onto you.
Yeah, but I don't have any
You
proof.
didn't come on to her.
No. And I
that's
felt-
why the next day you're telling her that you're out of line, that you saw her naked, you were horny, and that you asked her to have sex with you.
Okay, she was into BDSM.
You didn't know she had these texts, right?
She was into BDSM. She made several attempts on me, and I felt like the only reason why I
Okay,
said
so you
that,
didn't know she kept the text, right? You didn't know she had these texts around.
I'm glad she kept the text.
Are
I know
you?
the
Because
relationship.
you just lied to me and told me that you never came on to her, and then look at this. Right? That kind of makes you look like a liar.
Okay.
All
it
right,
was-
so let's discuss the $750.
After she left and after I gave her the check, she called me back. She told me, oh, she lost a check. And I was like, wait a minute, this is crazy because, her behavior. I'm like, I give you a check, Rachel. This is no way the check couldn't happen. So the following day, that's when she came back into the house and then she had the key. So then she stole the iPad. So that's when I went to the police. I told the police the whole story. And then next thing you know, the following day, she returned the iPad.
Okay, so in any event, you have the iPad, so why are you keeping the $750?
So after she returned the iPad, I didn't hear from her for like 9 months, like 8 months. Then I get an email from her. She basically told me, give her $500 or else she's gonna take me to court. So I was like, well, you left my house, you destroyed my house, you stole.
Do you have any pictures of the destruction?
No, Your Honor, I didn't bring
How are you
any
going to
of this
prove any of the stuff you're saying? How do you figure that you're going to get out of making good on the check that the bank says you put a stop payment on?
because I didn't stop the check.
Okay.
That same night, I didn't.
You need to press the off button.
Okay.
you lose.
Okay.
You just owe the money, plain and simple.
Yep.
$750, verdict for the plaintiff, plus your court costs.
This is crazy. I didn't.
Okay, right here.
This is crazy.
What's going through your mind right here?
I'm gonna call Chase Bank and I'm going to find out what happened to the check because I never cancel any check. I wrote her a check that day and that was it. I didn't hear anything from her. 9 months later, she came into the house, stole the stuff, and then I called the police. The police said they will speak to her, and that's when she returned my stuff.
Listen, you looked embarrassed when the judge was reading those texts out in the courtroom.
Yeah, because I'm to be honest, I'm so shocked. Like, you don't understand. This girl was like the amount of.
She was provocative toward you. You said,
and we
but you didn't bring any evidence of anything.
Yeah, I didn't feel I needed it. But,
Okay.
But I need to find out what happened to the bank. 'Cause this is
All right.
crazy.
He looks a little shocked. What's your reaction to this?
It's nice to have hard evidence because evidence you can't fuddle with.
Looking back, don't you see your actions in the kitchen there as could be interpreted as provocative by somebody?
Absolutely. That's why I don't do it anymore.
All right. Harvey?
Okay, Kurt, the defendant here is lucky because in some states, if you write a check with the intention, knowing at the time that you're going to stop payment on it, you could be responsible for 2, and in some states, 3 times the face value of the check.